of people who didn't support the candidate and then got relentlessly bullied until they did, like Joe Rogan and like Kyle Rittenhouse, but you write all of it off. So I mean, like, I don't think there's any way or anything I can demonstrate. Like, nothing is more clear than the Rittenhouse example of like what happens if you try not to support Trump. You'll be destroyed by the Fox News Dominion lawsuit. There's nothing more clear than that.
I agree with you in the sense that Kyle Rittenhouse was effectively bullied into like supporting Trump. But do you think that's the case for Joe Rogan?
Yes.
How so?
I think Joe Rogan came out and he was like, I really like this RFK dude. I'm not sure. Like, maybe I would support him. He said, it was a pretty tepid, lukewarm statement. And he got so much pushback from his audience who were all like Trump sycophants. Even other people in the mainstream media on the right were like, hey, I don't know if it's so good that you guys are all attacking Rogan like this. And then Rogan came out and basically made a statement like, oh, no, guys, don't worry. I'm not saying I endorse RFK for president, guys. Don't worry. Like, he had to come back and eat his words because he was getting so much over the top response about it. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, because, and then there's also, you know, what happened with MSNBC, right? When they edited him out to make it seem like he's supporting Kamala. So he's...
What's happening, everybody? Our favorite narcissistic jaw challenge streamer, Destiny, recently sat down for an interview with a streamer named Gen. What was meant to be a friendly interview turned into a one-sided, hate-filled debate as Destiny hurled ill-informed, angry insults at not only conservatives, but at Gen himself. With that, let's watch the leading candidate for Douchebag of the Year, Destiny, make a fool of himself while the host listens in disbelief at his psychopathy. Let's go.
Biden to step down. Like, I think there are still arguments for maybe he shouldn't do it. Like, yeah, it was a very like chaotic time. So,
but do you feel like you need to push more against the crazy like left-leaning stuff? Kind of
no,
like what you're
I think
doing,
that's
right?
stupid. A conservative has never in their life felt this obsessive need to like. So like I see everybody talking to the left like, are you guys don't you need to self-reflect? Don't you need to figure out what went wrong this election? Both. What did the conservatives do after they lost their last election? Well, one, they don't even believe they lost it, and two, they literally nominated the same guy, the exact same guy who ran an even worse campaign. So no, the idea that like the left has to dramatically change their approach and all that. Nah, I don't think that's true. I think the dramatic.
You don't think there needs to be any sort of reflection after a loss, though?
What did the conservatives reflect on?
I think they did a better job in terms of utilizing independent media. I think a lot of independent media has also been welcomed more by the right, too.
I do agree with that, yeah, but that goes into being more aggressive. What they've done better is the right's media sphere is a cult. Every single person on the right, every single centrist or independent or whatever media thing, all of them support the party. On the left, like, a lot of our huge people on the left don't support the party. They don't support the candidate. It's very weird, right? Like, it's kind of funny that I go on shows and it's like, I'm an institutional shill. Because I actually get for like supporting the Democratic candidates in like this far left sphere. Like, everybody will attack the candidate, but then you go to the far right sphere or the centrist sphere, right? And all these guys are massive Trump simps. Joe Rogan and Tim Pool and everybody at the Daily Wire and every single Stephen Crowder, all the right, the far right, the mid right, the whatever right sphere are all supporting the candidate. And on the left, there's like this huge coalescence of people that are like far lefties that hate the candidate, and that's not a good environment. Who are the mainstream left-leaning figures who are pushing everybody to support?
So for example, right, like if we're going to use the example of Joe Rogan, right, they recently had like that controversy where they kind of edited out his podcast clip to make it seem like he's supporting Kamala. Like, that was a blatant lie. Or, for example, during the whole COVID thing, when they, you know, color graded him to make him look more sick, called ivermectin like a horse dewormer. Like, what I'm trying to say is that both sides engage in this. I don't think it's an exclusively right issue.
Wait, hold on. You're talking about totally different things. I'm saying that on the right, if you're going to be in right media, you have to support the candidate. Full stop. Or your empire is destroyed. Your media company is destroyed. On the left, that's not the case. There are plenty of popular.
Well, that's
wait, think of it right now. Like, give me a single right-leaning media entity that doesn't fully support Donald Trump.
I mean, look, I can't just like name someone off the top of my head. But
we can probably think of several people on the left, right? Hassan Piker is the largest streamer on Twitch, didn't really support the candidate. People from Bernie's administration, like Brianna Joy Gray, didn't really support the candidate. Crystal Ball from Breaking Points didn't really support the candidate. The Majority Report, both sides, do genocide, not huge support for the candidate. Like, there's tons of like far left media and a lot of this far left media apparatus that doesn't support the candidate, right? It's not the same on the left and the right at all.
But do you think that has happened like every single election year over year? I think that's where I keep going back to my point of, do you think it's more so the candidate? right?
If I can show you articles that Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro have written saying they will never vote for Donald Trump because of like how horrible his character and everything is, like his character didn't change in 4 years. Nothing changed about him in 8 years. Like the only thing that happened was they realized, this happened with Glenn Beck as well, it happened on The Blaze, is that people were like, hey, I don't really know how I feel about Donald Trump. And every single person on the right was like, oh, well, I'm not going to watch your media. Like that is what happened factually. Like that's the right. You can say, well, maybe all of them, every single person on the right just happened to all change their minds simultaneously and all agree that Donald Trump is actually a good candidate. They all, wanted to take back what they said before, but I find that incredibly unconvincing. I think it's far more likely that they just realize that on the right, you have to support the candidate or you have no future in media. The original claim they were talking about has to do with whether or not you have to support a candidate, basically. On the left, I've given you several large media entities that don't support the candidate. On the right, every single person, even centrists or whatever, all support the candidate. And to just say, well, I think that every single person has a really good reason for why all of them have to support the candidate, even when I've given you examples of people who didn't support the candidate and then got relentlessly bullied until they did, like Joe Rogan and like Kyle Rittenhouse, but you write all of it off. So I mean, like I don't think there's any way or anything I can demonstrate. Like nothing is more clear than the Rittenhouse example of like what happens if you try not to support Trump. You'll be destroyed by the Fox News Dominion lawsuit. There's nothing more clear than that.
I agree with you in the sense that Kyle Rittenhouse was effectively bullied into like supporting Trump. But do you think that's the case for Joe Rogan?
Yes.
How so?
I think Joe Rogan came out and he was like, I really like this RFK dude. I'm not sure. Like maybe I would support him. He said it was a pretty tepid, lukewarm statement. And he got so much pushback from his audience who were all like Trump sycophants. Even other people in the mainstream media on the right were like, hey, I don't know if it's so good that you guys are all attacking Rogan like this. And then Rogan came out and basically made a statement saying like, oh, no, guys, don't worry. I'm not saying I endorse RFK for president, guys. Don't worry. Like he had to come back and eat his words because he was getting so much over the top response about it. Like it was insane.
Yeah, and then there's also, what happened with MSNBC, right? When they edited him out to make it seem like he's supporting Kamala. So he's probably also overly sensitive to things getting misrepresented. Just
none of that has any bearing on what I just said. I'm saying that on the right, you have to support Trump. I'm not talking about MSNBC or CNN editing or anything. I'm saying that on the right, none of that made him support Trump.
What I'm trying to do is provide context in the sense that there's probably that thought process too. That's why it's probably overly simplistic to just say that he just got bullied into it when, media has misrepresented what he said multiple times.
Okay. You're just wrong. I mean, I really don't know what to say. Like, this stuff like drives me so crazy that the right can get away with so much insane behavior, and then people always make excuses. Right? Well, the reason why Joe Rogan had to come out and 100% deep throw Donald Trump was because MSNBC edited a clip of him one time. Like, I don't know. I'm a man. I've never changed my political opinions because somebody says something mean about me like that. But then people make excuses for Joe Rogan to do this, and it's so crazy to me. Right? I've had people lie about me on the left and the right. I've never thought like, wow, that guy said something mean about me. I'm going to go and support a totally different candidate. Like, grow up. Like, what the that's just crazy to me that you would be so willing and easily ready to offer up that excuse for Joe Rogan. Like maybe he had to be a 100% Trump sycophant because MSNBC posted a clip of him being too orange one time. That's crazy to me. That just doesn't make any sense in my mind.
Why do you hate centrists? I've heard you multiple times say that centrists are spineless. I like to describe myself as centrist. And honestly, Destiny, you're probably more one too. You even said that you're independent. You like to look at things from both sides and look at facts. Doesn't that make you a bit of a centrist as well?
I have a variety of opinions that could put me on the left or the right, depending upon which like constellation of beliefs you're picking from. But most people that call themselves centrists are just 100% aligned with this anti-establishment Trump dick suck mentality, and that's it. They'll go like, "Oh, I'm a centrist. Really? What do you mean by centrist?" Well, I support a lot of people on the left, like Tulsi Gabbard and RFK, and it's like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." It's like, well, and also I'm like a big supporter of people of like Andrew Tate and left people like Jimmy Dore and right people, and it's like it's just okay. So what you really mean when you say you're centrist is that you hate the establishment, you're anti-establishment, and you support every single person who's anti-establishment. That's what you really mean to say. That's not a centrist or a moderate or whatever. It's just a person who's anti-establishment, and their beliefs all 100% align with everyone else who's like that.
What you just laid out as your definition of a centrist is actually a lot of people, based on like a lot of people that I've talked to. What I like to consider myself as, I may have stances that might lean more left, there might be lean more right. It also just depends on the historical context too. What would you consider Lex Friedman as?
The thing is
Joe
that,
Rogan. I know.
Yeah, but both of these guys are hard conservative supporting. If one side is clearly in the wrong and the other side is not even close to as in the wrong, and you try to both sides them, you're granting more favor to the side that's clearly in the wrong, right? So, for instance, there is no recent candidate that has weaponized the DOJ like Donald Trump has tried. And if you try to make excuses for it and say, well, doesn't everybody do this? You're conservative. You're leaning conservative because you're granting them so much more leeway than you would on the left. Like, but people don't understand this, so yeah.
But don't you think you're kind of just making a blanketed statement and not applying your definition of a centrist to those media figures?
If one guy says that he thinks that the Earth is, if one guy says that he thinks the Earth is round, and the other guy says he thinks the Earth is flat, and another guy comes up, he's like, you know what? I think both these guys make great points. What do you think about that guy? Is he like a moderate? Would you call him like a centrist? Is that?
Well, I mean, that's also not really like a political issue. That's like quite complex. It's quite, denounceable and proven wrong by with science. I know you're just using it as an example, but
so you would say no, that guy's not a centrist. He's granting way more favor to the flat earther, right? If you were to go between a flat earther and a guy who believes that the Earth is an oblate spheroid or whatever it is, right? And you would say, well, I think both these guys make great points. You would say, okay, well, hold on. It would be really dumb to take a center position between these two people, right?
Yeah, in my personal opinion, yeah.
Okay, that's how I feel about a lot of the stuff related to the media environment and Trump's behavior. Because Trump is clearly, like, outstandingly in the wrong in so many ways, but people are willing to grant him so many excuses and then say that, well, it happens on the left and the right. So it's like, okay, you're not a centrist, you're a conservative. If you're going to make that many excuses for Trump and then hold the left to such an insane standard, then yeah, that's not centrism. That's just closet conservative. There is nothing that Donald Trump could have done to have lost the vote of 90% of the people that voted for him. It's impossible. He can't do it. It's a cult.
Sorry, I meant Joe Rogan. Like Joe Rogan.
There's nothing that Donald Trump could have done for Joe Rogan not to vote for him. It's almost inconceivable.
But how can you say that with such blind confidence?
Because Donald Trump is a disgusting, abhorrent figure who's done almost every horrible thing that you could do that has violated even Joe's past principles. And nobody's even, like, the support for him has been unwavering. Watching Donald Trump be interviewed by Joe Rogan was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in my entire life. Joe Rogan spent the first 40 minutes trying to get Donald Trump to answer the question of what's it like ruling in office on day one, and Trump is too senile to even answer the question. Maybe he didn't even understand the question. And Joe Rogan still gives him a free pass. There's nothing that Trump could have done.
Yeah, I mean, again, right, if you're going to ask about facts, earlier on in this conversation, I think you got to base it a little bit more on facts for something like that. Because also...
Hold on, wait, to be clear, I brought up facts on... what part do you need me to bring facts up? You haven't brought up any facts for anything. I brought up facts on every single thing.
Have I not been bringing up facts? I've been trying to bring in a lot more historical context.
No, hold on, you keep saying historical context. There is no historical context. Donald Trump was president in 2016. We're like 8 years ago. There's no historical context. What are we talking about? What are some facts?
When I was talking about historical context, you have to consider that 2016 is a lot different than 2024.
What historical context would make Trump a good president in 2024?
I don't know. We have to see. He hasn't even been inaugurated yet, right?
Yeah, but if you're going to vote for him, like, what is the historical context of the past 8 years that's making you think, well, maybe Trump could be a good president because I have more information now than I had in 2016?
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to vote for him because they just weren't happy with the previous administration too, right? I think a lot of people, you talked about inflation, they perceive Donald Trump to be able to handle that better, as well as the border. I think those were two very hot topics that
Hey, if you like watching videos like these, like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
turn a lot of people. I mean, I think you can even see, especially with the fact that a lot of Latinos,
You think, well, maybe Trump could be a good president because I have more information now than I had in 2016.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to vote for him because they just weren't happy with the previous administration too, right? I think a lot of people, you talked about inflation, they perceive Donald Trump to be able to handle that better, as well as the border. I think those were two very hot topics that turn a lot of people. I mean, I think you can even see, especially with the fact that a lot of Latinos this election, especially Latino male voters, voted for Trump, right? There's got to be specific reasons for that.
Okay, and I think a lot of it has to do with the cultish media environment that the right has, that they can lie with impunity, they don't get called out for it, and then they basically sell like this false image to everybody that people start to believe in. I think it's a big part of it.
Right? Like
they haven't.
Fox
No, they
Dominion
haven't.
case. The Fox Dominion case is
No one cares about it. The Fox Dominion case should have been the end of Fox News and every single person involved in that. But most people don't even care about it.
I agree with you.
I don't care if you agree with me. The reality is Tucker Carlson is still one of those popular figures in media. Fox News is still thriving, and every single host.
Because he also has a right? Because he's an independent voice now. Like
no one is talking about having a right. I'm just saying that should have been the end of his credibility. That nobody lied on the left as much as Tucker Carlson and the rest of Fox News did. But these people will still hold like Fauci and that entire administration to some different standard because they didn't like one thing he said. Like it's insane. It's an insane media environment.
Do you feel like you still stand by your statement that you have no sympathy for the bystander firefighter that was killed?
Yeah.
Why's that?
Well, because you're going to like an insane rally from a dude who is like championing violence against the United States. Like, yeah, if violence or whatever happens, then I mean, fuck it. I mean, shit happens.
You feel like it was justified that he was killed then?
No, I don't think you should ever kill people for political reasons in the United States. I don't think that's good. But I'm not going to feel bad for you if you end up getting killed at some crazy fucking rally where you're cheering on some authoritarian lunatic. That's
Don't you
fucking
think
wild.
someone can also make then the argument that then you should be canceled for having sort of statements like that?
Okay, they can try and cancel me then, I guess. I already
So
get
that's
like
what I'm
50
saying,
million
is
death
that, like,
threats.
that's why Tucker Carlson has like an audience too, right? Is that
Wait, hold on, wait. This has nothing to do. What I'm saying is Tucker Carlson had no credibility because he blatantly and knowingly lied to his audience in order to get a politician elected.
Tucker Carlson doesn't have any credibility because he lies all the time. Destiny, you lie all the time, and you're deranged. But Tucker Carlson has had a long, esteemed career, and people respect him. So he's afforded the same free speech that you are when you spew out all the nonsense that you do on every single video we watch. Every time I watch him, I come to a new conclusion. Now I genuinely believe he's mentally ill. He's projecting in this interview at such an extreme level I previously didn't think was possible. Everything, and I mean everything, that he freaks out about with his problems with the right wing is exactly what the left has done forever to the nth degree. And he keeps making statements like the Republicans did this, this, and this. I mean, the left has never done anything even close to that. Look, this is a long clip, so I cannot possibly address all of the stupidity that we just listened to with the thoroughness it deserves. But I at least want to make a couple of points to back up what I just said. The Republicans have weaponized the DOJ unlike anything we've ever seen. The left's never done anything like that. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said. Does he take into consideration 90 felony accounts against a political opponent that were all bogus? How about when Donald Trump and Joe Biden were both found to have classified documents at their residence? I seem to recall one of those two people being raided by the FBI with weapons drawn, and the other one just saying, "They were locked in my garage." Seems like a weaponization of the DOJ. But maybe I haven't convinced you yet, which I don't know how I haven't. How about when Elon Musk handed over the Twitter files to Matt Taibbi, and the next day the IRS came to Matt Taibbi's door in person to announce that they were doing an audit? That's a coincidence. I didn't know the IRS made house calls. Interesting. Oh, and here's one of my favorites. Remember when parents that disagreed with wacko progressive nut job school boards were labeled as domestic terrorists? Parents who cared about their children not being taught gay shit in their school and having it jammed down their throats, no pun intended. You know, I'm no legal political expert. I'm just a guy who talks here, but it seems to me like that's a weaponization of the DOJ. So the left's never engaged in that, huh, Destiny? And Destiny keeps saying, well, the right engages in all this crazy behavior and no one calls them on it. What are you talking about? And to that same point, he said that no media outlets are pushing the candidate for the left. Has he ever watched CNN or MSNBC? That's all they did during election season. What are you talking about? They weren't talking about other candidates. Then he bitches about the Democrat Party not getting behind the candidate. Well, maybe that's because they didn't want that candidate. The Democrat candidate, whether there's a primary or not, is always chosen by the establishment, the liberal elite. So if I were on the left, I can't believe I just said that. That would be my worst nightmare. But if I were on the left and candidates were just picked for me, I'd probably have some issues with it too. And then finally he says, everyone on the right is bullied into supporting Donald Trump. Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, people who either had problems with Trump in the past or never really gave out endorsements. Maybe, Destiny, just maybe, they were able to overlook some character flaws they may have disagreed with because, again, on the right, we like results and actions. And despite how you keep characterizing Donald Trump's first term in office as some kind of failure, you are in the insane minority. And you're only in that minority because you have zero objectivity. You're so brainwashed. I don't even know if that's the word. You're so stuck in your ways and have such a need to be right about everything. I mean, to that point, look at this interview. Anything Gen brings up, never does Destiny say, yeah, I can see that, but I kind of think this. It's always, no. No, that's crazy. Why would that? It's an angry response. The interviewer needs to get a ton of credit because he's staying calm and even keel, almost just smirking at how deranged Destiny is. I like this guy a lot. Check him out. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. It's Gen, Gen. He's just trying to conduct a normal interview, and he's got a psychopath he's interviewing that freaks out over the most benign questions. These are all my notes. I haven't come close to getting to everything I want to. But like I said, this is a long clip. Let's get back to the video.
Elected. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
Fair enough. Do you have friends from both sides of the spectrum, like in your personal life?
A little bit, if they're secret Trump supporters. But if I find out, I cut them out. No more of these people, okay? I don't want to have to make hard decisions in the upcoming civil war, so I'm just trying to have only friends on the left now.
So Destiny, I gotta say though, like, you care about facts, like I can see that, but don't you feel like sometimes your bias is overcrowding that?
The true enemies are people like you, okay? Unironically, though, like you're
What?
no, but because you're so obsessed with trying to both sides everything, and it's like it's just it's an impossible world to live in because then people like you look at me like, aren't you kind of biased, Destiny? No, I don't think I am biased compared to the party that doesn't even acknowledge the results of the 2020, 2024, or 2016 election. Donald Trump still thinks all three elections were rigged. And you're asking me if I'm the biased one, right? Like in 2016, he said that 3 million illegal immigrants voted with no evidence. Put together a commission to find it, couldn't find it, disbanded the commission. In 2020, he says that the election was rigged. They launched 60 plus court cases to try to prove that, lost basically every single one. In 2024, Donald Trump was still saying that there was like evidence of rigging at the Philadelphia place in Detroit. They were bringing no evidence was ever good presented for any of this. None of it was proven, right? And then you're like, well, don't you think you're being a little bit biased? And say, no, the right is full of fucking liars right now and crazy people. So I don't think that I'm biased by calling that out. When the right does something good, then I say, okay, yeah, this is good. I give him credit for this. When the left does something bad, I would criticize him for that. Nobody on the right will criticize Donald Trump substantively for anything. That's why you can't even give me a single example. I can rattle off 5 or 10 criticisms of Kamala Harris off the top of my head for things that I don't like. You will never find the same criticisms for people on the right. Like, it just doesn't happen. I challenge you to do any of it, other than like they'll give these like very like, well, I don't like that Donald Trump is kind of mean sometimes. Like they'll give some shit like that, but they won't disagree with them on any policy.
Thank you for saying that I'm part of the problem, but I do think this is exactly why it's important to talk to both sides, though, right? And I think that you do it a lot of times, though.
Yeah, and I regret a lot of it. It's not. This is not valuable. The talking to both sides is not valuable because then it gives the air of illusion that both sides are somehow coming to some middle ground agreement. There is no coming to a middle ground or agreement with people on the right who think that the last election was still stolen. These people are retarded. There are some people on the left, but they're 1%. Right. On the right, they're 99%. That's the difference. The difference is when people say, yes, yeah. The fact is, 99%? Show me. Do you want to compare how many lawmakers on the Republican side are QAnoners versus how many people on the left are neo-Marxists or whatever? There's nobody. It's not even close. There's not even close.
I mean, look, I know you're just exaggerating by saying.
I'm not exaggerating. Wait, how am I exaggerating?
You're thinking 99% of Republicans think that it was stolen versus only 1% of the liberals.
Well, hold on.
The Democrat
For the
side?
Republicans that think the last election was stolen, that number, the last I saw, was 80% think that the 2020 election was rigged, was like the actual votes were stolen. Yes. Nothing is equivalent on the left to that. It's not even close. The right is out of control, and they are completely divorced from reality. It's insane.
This interviewer has been completely hospitable and listened intently to everything Destiny has to say. And what does he get in return for that? The true enemies are people like you. What a And let's not forget why Destiny says that this guy's the real enemy. Because he wants to be objective with his questions. Who can ever take Destiny seriously? The crazy thing is, I will see when I'm looking up clips to watch for videos, I'll see comment sections filled with people saying, Destiny's amazing. He killed that guy. I guess he's been able to infect other people with his hatred, and maybe that's it. Maybe people that are prone to anger and hatred and just blaming every single ill of their own and of the world on somebody else are drawn to Destiny. You know what? I think that's it. That has to be it. What normal person, just sane person that tries to look at things objectively, would even take this guy seriously? It has to be anybody who says this guy is a great debater or really knows his stuff or makes great arguments. They have to have something wrong with them. They have to have their own personal stuff going on or a mental condition. I mean that with full sincerity. Who can respect this guy? And how about this one? Well, do you think your bias clouds your judgment at all? No, I'm not biased. I know I'm not a good comparison to Destiny. I don't debate all the time or anything. But when I talk to you, I preface things an awful lot with, hey, I understand I'm biased, but here's how I see it. I even ask the audience sometimes, hey, tell me if I'm wrong. Check me on my bias. Maybe I'm missing something. And there have been times that people have very respectfully in the comments said, well, I thought you were wrong about this. And I respond to them, thank you. I'll take another look at that. Isn't that how you learn and get better? He has shut off his brain from wanting to learn anything else. I do think he's intelligent, and I do believe he reads up on the issues that he's going to be debating. But as you can see, he reads with zero objectivity. He reads in search of quotes or statistics that will back up his point and disregards everything else. And you know what I'm really embarrassed about is that I get actually frustrated watching these things. I mean, I should just be laughing the entire time. I don't even know what I can say about him negative that I haven't already said. I mean, he is a complete joke. I actually really hope there's some people watching this that think I'm nuts and think Destiny is just a fantastic voice in politics. Please say something in the comment section. I've got to understand how you people think. But for the normal people watching this, just remember, if we've learned anything from this ridiculous video that we just watched, the one thing we can take away from it is Destiny is not biased. Okay? You got it? All right. Well, if you've stuck around this long, God bless you. I appreciate it. And that's going to do it for today's video. If you like watching videos of Destiny go on unhinged rants and look like a complete jackass, I've got plenty of them. There's probably one in one of the two boxes that just popped up on your screen. Otherwise, as always, I really appreciate you being here. The end.